Welcome back to Commercial Breaks with Miss Education. I'm Miss Education, episode 64, Raise Up a Child, Part Dose, right? Oh, okay. Wow. I know my mom's gonna call me talking about why is your shirt so chiffonné? Chiffonné, how you say that in English? Chiffonné, not iron. Wrinkled. Why is your shirt so chiffonné? Why is it so wrinkled? Sorry, Mom. It is what it is, okay? I'm at home. I can do it. So Raise Up a Child, Part 2. The other night, so I have two boys, a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old. And for whatever reason, my children like to, well, the 12-year-old definitely likes to sleep in the room. He'll just sleep on the floor and you got to kick him out. And every now and then the 14-year-old will join. But definitely Friday nights, like after we do, I know we've talked about it, but after we do like the family movie night, they sleep in the room, right? Therefore, I need to get a king-size bed next time so that they can stay in the bed if they want. But they sleep on the floor. And so a couple Friday nights ago, my son, this is now the 14-year-old, he talks in his sleep. I don't know if any of you have to deal with that. Mine talks in his sleep, and every now and then he gets up in his sleep, okay? Some weird stuff. The other one grinds his teeth. Just some weird stuff. But anyway, the 14-year-old started talking in his sleep, and it was loud. And he says something, if I can remember, paraphrase, he's like, he calls his brother Zaza. He calls his brother. And the way he called his name was out of distress, right? So it was what I would assume it was a nightmare he was having, right? It wasn't a pleasant dream where they're playing games, right? It was something bad. And he's like, Zaza. He calls his name out. And then, it's like there's more conversation. And at the very end, he says, God help me. Right? God help me. And I was like, oh shoot. What just happened? Like, I was concerned. I said, something just happened in his sleep. Something happened in my son's sleep in front of me. I know people are like, Jen, maybe you're reading too much into it. Then let me read, okay? But there was a spiritual battle that took place that night with my son. Because why do I say it's a spiritual battle that took place with my son? And again, first of all, I'm having this conversation with you. Believe I've had this conversation with my son. We talked about it. We sure did. Why do I think it was a spiritual battle that took place with my son? Because he called out name of God. Like, he's like, God help me. It was Zaza, blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, God help me. Why do you call on God? Right? Why did he call on God? Whatever it was that he was going through in his mind, whatever was happening in his head, he didn't ask for mom. Mom couldn't help him. He didn't ask for dad. Right? He didn't say police. He didn't call on any of us. He said, God, help me. And look, when we're awake and we find ourselves in situations, like if I need help, like for instance, if my car stops working or I pop a tire, I call AAA or I call my husband. Husband, help me. AAA, help me. Right? If I find myself and where I can't answer a problem, I say, hey, teacher, help me. Right? I am aware of my situation, and I'm also aware of who can help me. If I need help with, I don't know, fixing a chair, I don't call a doctor. You know what I mean? If I have a medical issue, I'm not going to call the principal, right? I mean, I don't know. I think that just makes sense, right? If I have an issue when it comes to cooking, because I hate to cook, I'm calling my little sister because she loves to cook. If I want to ask about a meat question, like, oh, I'm trying to prepare this meat dish, I know which sister not to call. She's vegetarian. I'm not calling her. So if I find myself in a situation, like I said in the past, where the car is spinning, right? The car is spinning out of control. I'm not going to call my husband. I'm like, Jamal, help me. I'm not calling my husband. I'm not calling my mom. I'm not calling my dad. Only one name. In the name of Jesus. That's who I call. So if my son is sleeping at night and he sounds like he's in distress and there's something going on in his brain, in his head, in his dreams, right? And the subconscious, there's something going on in his dreams where he's calling out his brother. Something is wrong. And then he says, God, help me. Well, I'm going to conclude that whatever was going on was supernatural and spiritual in nature. And why am I saying this? In Psalms 55, verse 16 and 17, it reads, again, Psalms 55, 16 and 17, it reads, but I will call on God, and the Lord will rescue me. Morning, noon, and night, I cry out in my distress, and the Lord hears my voice. So it's not far-fetched, right? In the middle of the night, the supernatural, the subconscious, something is happening, and my son called out. He called out to God to help him, even in his sleep. And why I'm saying this is, again, raise up a child. I am even more passionate now than ever. And again, this stems from the school system, seeing the foolishness that goes on in school. But I am more passionate now to instill the love of God in my children, to instill the knowledge of God in my children, because I know that He is a deliverer, and that there is no time, space, distance, there is no location that He cannot, that God cannot come and rescue my child. And that night, when that happened, and the next day, that happened Friday night. So Saturday after church, we went for a walk, and we had this conversation with my, Jamal and I. We had this conversation with my son, with our son, and I was like, "Yo, I was grateful, right? I was grateful because I was like, yo, we are doing a good job. Yeah, my son's a teenager. He acts a fool and he gets on my nerve, but fundamentally, we are doing a good job. That even in his sleep, he knew to call on God's name. I'm encouraging you as parents, as guardians, to raise up your child in the way they should go, so that when they get older, they will not depart from it. They will come back to their center. They will come back to the lessons that we've taught them. They will come back to their original. And the goal is that their original, that their center is God. So that when they find themselves in the abyss of our educational system, right, they can stand for truth. They can reject the falsehoods, right? Again, I'm working on it. My son literally said a man could give birth. You see, I ain't perfect. We still working. It's a work in progress. You know what I'm saying? But it is something that is fundamental, and that we as parents, as guardians, as individuals who are the gatekeepers of these children, right? The human gatekeepers of these children, we must protect our children, and we must arm them spiritually so that they can fight this battle. Because I know, there are people who think there's nothing going on. I'm telling you, there is a spiritual, supernatural battle going on. And one day it will be revealed. And I pray, God, that it's not too late for you and for your children. Arm them properly, so that in the morning, noon, and even at night, our children will cry out in their distress, and the Lord will hear their voices. What a mighty God I serve. Okay? He's dope. God is dope. I hope that made sense. I don't know. I'll tell you this, right? Because I'm at 10 minutes. I still have technically 3 minutes, up to 5 more minutes. There are these commercial breaks that I do, and I'm like, God, what is this? Like, what did I just say? This makes no sense. Oh, like, and I'm like, I'm going to delete it. I'm not going to post it. We're not doing it. And God's like, no, do it. Yep, leave it alone. Because I did say I wouldn't delete. So I post. And I get nervous. I really do. Because I'm like, this made no sense. Again, I'm saying this made no sense, even though I don't rewatch any of these, right? It's a one-time thing. Oh my God, this makes no sense. And God is so good and so merciful and so understanding that he cares about my little feelings with everything going on, right? You got wars, rumors of wars, you got natural disasters, you got things going upside down in our world. And God cares about my little, I don't know, podcast, video cast, I don't know what you call this, but God cares about my little commercial break. Yes, he does. Because when I doubt myself, without fail, right? There are episodes I put out there and I'm like, oh, no, I'm about to embarrass myself. And without fail, God hears. And God has people call me or text me or stop me. And of all the episodes, right, whatever I do in that segment, that weekly thing that I send out, they hone in and focus on the one episode that I doubted. The one episode that I wanted to delete. That's the episode they want to talk about. Talking about, oh, Jen, this got me thinking about this, Jen. And I'm like, oh, God, thank you. Thank you. Because legit, every time I do these and I feel some type of way, I'm like, God, I don't want to do this no more. I'm done. I don't want to do this no more. And without fail, 100% of the time, right? There has not been one episode, like of the episodes that I doubt, there has not been one that I have not received feedback on it. And I'm like, all right, God, you got me. You are in control. And so I will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. All right. Well, again, raise up your children, raise up our children, raise up these babies so that in the morning, noon, and nighttime, they will cry out and God will hear them and rescue them. To God be the glory. God is dope. Till next time. Peace out. Bye.